It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. So my first slide is a table of contents to guide you through what I'll be talking about in my presentation. First off, we have an overview of the book. Lily Bloom had witnessed her mother be abused by her father for years and began wondering why she stayed with him until he passed away. It hurt her mother, but Lily began to see the reasons and why it had effects on them. Lily ends up moving away from her hometown to travel to Boston. She lived in Michigan before she moved to Boston. Things are moving smoothly for Lily. She just gets out of college and she ends up meeting this really charming neurosurgeon named Ralph Kincaid. He seems really sweet and charming in the beginning, but then she starts realizing and picks apart little things about who he is. He becomes very abusive and controlling towards Lily, and Lily realizes the cycle that she is repeating because her mother and her father were, basically her father was really abusive to her and her mom. And will Lily be able to overcome her fear of leaving Rao before things turn ugly, or will she follow in her mother's footsteps and stay? And then next we have my themes and significance. Theme number 1 was jealousy. I picked this theme because Ryle begins to see that Lily becomes infatuated again with her previous lover, Atlas. Atlas was the boy that Lily first fell in love with at the beginning when she was younger. And he becomes very jealous towards Lily, and because Atlas owns a restaurant in Boston, Lily goes there more often to see Atlas. And Ryle only found this out because he went through Lily's stuff when they moved into their apartment together. And I feel that that was an invasion of Lily's privacy and shouldn't have happened. And it was totally Ryle's fault why she acted that way. And the significance of this theme is showing that you may love someone and trust them, but they could still take advantage of you and hurt you out of anger. And then my theme number 2 was generational cycles. As I mentioned in the beginning, Lily's mother was abused by her father, and he would make up for it to them by giving them gifts every time that they would fight. And Lily liked that. She was able to get gifts and be showered, and it wouldn't happen again. But when Lily first became pregnant and dealt with the abuse from Ryle, she made the decision to divorce him after their daughter was born. It was the hardest decision Lily has ever made in her life, and she didn't want to leave the man that she loved, but she needed to move on and break the generational cycle of abuse. And she needed that for her daughter and for her own clarity so that she wouldn't feel that she had to stay just because she loved Ryle. And then my key passages in my book. The first passage really put the book into perspective for me, and it just helped me understand the reason why Lily made the decision to get the divorce from Ryle and why it was a safer idea for her to leave because of the cycle of abuse. And she knew that Ryle wasn't going to hurt Emerson, but deep down she did not want Emerson later in life to hear the story and be like, oh, like you should have left. So it really gave Ryle and Lily a chance to think about their relationship. And then passage number 2, between Lily and her mother when her father died at his funeral. I feel that Lily was definitely able to say the things that her mother didn't or wasn't able to say as her father was living, and Lily was the one to give her father's eulogy at his funeral, and Lily's mother didn't, and that was very strong and brave of Lily because she really didn't highlight the good things about him, more about the bad things and the hurtful things that he did to Lily and her mother, and I felt like that was a very brave move for Lily to do, just because her mother wasn't able to or didn't want to do it. And then number 3, this was at the beginning of the book when Lily and Ryle first met. They were talking about things that happened in their lives and, that not everybody is bad. They just do bad things. And it foreshadows Lily and Ryle's relationship very quickly, that the abuse that Lily went through with Ryle, he kind of overlooked it, and their relationship was very toxic and unhealthy as well. Ryle just was very condescending and abusive towards Lily when she was pregnant, and it just shows through Lily's emotions in the book and how she explained all the tough things she went through, and she thought she found somebody she loved, but he ended up hurting her, and I felt like that really helped me understand the book a lot more. The author's style. So Colleen Hoover, she was a social worker before she started writing, and those situations that she worked in helped her write her books and understand hard to grasp topics like abuse, drug use, and broken families, and definitely in this book, domestic abuse. She has a high influence of poetry, and it definitely shows when characters are speaking or characters write in journal entries in the book. Lily has a series of letters that she writes in this book to Ellen DeGeneres. It was like somebody that she really looked up to when she was going through those hard times in her life. And she also used her own life experience in this book because her own father was abusive to her mother, and her mother was never strong enough to stand up to him and leave. And I feel that this book definitely helped me understand it as well. I selected this book because I had read it over the summer, and I actually saw it, I believe, on TikTok when I was looking for it, and Colleen Hoover also has a bunch of other books as well, and I just picked this one because it popped out to me. The cover is really sweet, and I read the backstory, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to read this book. I also feel that this book, as I kept reading it, and earlier this year in class, it definitely connects towards Yellow Wallpaper and the 17 Syllables, the little short stories that we read. And I feel like both of these stories had central ideas about controlling husbands and husbands who are very involved in the decisions of women. In this book, Ryle was he really didn't make decisions for Lily, but he kind of told Lily, oh, you're going to go and do this. You can't go see Atlas at the restaurant. Like, you're going to stay back home with me. And he kind of really controlled her at the end just because he thought he had control because she was pregnant. And that's, not really how that works. And this book also did help me understand that if you are in an abusive relationship, you can leave. It might hurt you and the other person, but you do what's best for you in that moment and what you feel is best. This book affected me while I was reading it and now after doing this project and reading. At first, the characters seemed really happy and their relationship was going really, really well, and I fell for the characters' relationship. I was like, oh, this is going to go really well, like they're going to end up together in the end. But once Atlas reappeared in Lily's life and Ryle became very possessive over Lily, that changed my outlook on him for sure. It made me feel definitely scared and nervous because Lily's mother went through the same thing, and Lily kind of was like, oh, he's a good guy, like I love him, he's not going to hurt me, but he did, and she needed to leave him. And I felt like I could relate to Lily's feelings on why she was scared to leave, because Colleen kind of touched upon that in the beginning of Lily's entry in the story about how her father would hurt her mother. And after reading it made me think of my own situations that, a lot of parents do fight and kids get stuck in the middle, and it was a very similar way to how Colleen described it. And some of my favorite aspects of this book, it made me so excited to read it and so sad at the same time, but Colleen Hoover described it and explained everything and kind of reasoned in the character's mind why they made decisions through their experiences. And I enjoyed that the book was kind of short. It was about 300 or so pages. I know for some of you that might be long, but it was actually a really quick read. And it also avoided like casual cliches in books, like the enemies to lovers or old friends to lovers, like that thing. And I really liked that. It kind of touched on domestic abuse, which is a very, very tough topic to talk about, and how it can affect people later on in their lives. And it definitely helped me understand a little bit more of like what a relationship can be like for some people. And I also related to it as well because sometimes, my parents do fight and kids would get in the way and we would try to, diffuse the situation, but you're just kids and you really don't know what's going on. And I felt like I could really relate to Lily and Colleen's situation. And that is it. This book was a good read, and I definitely recommend it for anybody who wants a quick read or just something to read. It's definitely a romance book. If you're not into that, definitely skip it. But it was a really good book, and that is it.